Okay, so in this little video here, I'm doing some post-recording, but there's a valuable lesson to be learned here. In fact, two valuable lessons. The first one is, hey, go do your damage calculations. You have to go double check, test things out, make sure things are going right so that you can really get the right decision on the board. Really want to get the right decision. What weapon are you going to use? Are you going to use the right spells? Are you going to do this, that? For the right boss, you have to be able to do the proper calculations because I fought the Godskin Apostle here. It's one of my favorite bosses. I love Dominula. And I fought him with the Great Club here. It's a blunt, holy weapon, blunt, sacred weapon. And the thing is, if you just go look at like fextra or whatever, I don't like fextra, but it's, what's the alternative right now? Sadly, right? The resistances for the Godskin Apostle, he can resist fire a lot. Of course, they're black flame, and then they're also holy, so they resist holy damage quite a bit. That's what I got. That's what I got. But they also are 10% weak to slashing. And so you would think, even though I might have more points, upgrade levels invested into my great club at the moment, that maybe something like the Uchi Katana, even though it has less scaling, might be better DPS-wise overall. And the answer is no. Because if you run the numbers, well, the Great Club at this moment just outperforms it. Not only that, but even on the more subtler aspects in terms of control, man, the Great Club does outperform it in this situation. Even if the upgrade levels were reversed and I had a plus 20 Uchi and a plus 15 Great Club in this situation, same stats and everything. Because of the way that control is just so good. And by control in this specific instance, I mean getting that stance damage, getting that the riposte, being able to stagger the enemy proactively and just get that huge damage in and stop the enemy from doing anything to you. It's incredible. Like using the hyper armor of it to get in that. You'll see how the fight goes in just a moment. But the subtleties of it are not subtle. You know what I mean? Once you really start messing around with giant weapons, and I do recommend doing so ever since 1.10. Sure, there were a lot of changes in like PvP with hyper armor and stuff and passive poise, but man, the Colossals, so they buffed critical hits in general, so getting your critical hits is better. Charge R2 has always been good, but specifically like using a charged heavy chain with like the Ruin's Great Sword, one of my favorite weapons now, or the Great Club, which has a great charged heavy chain. Just absolutely mess around with that. Also, the aim punch has been severely limited. It hasn't been totally removed. There are some niche situations that you can get into where it'll still happen. However, most of the time, especially for PvE players like myself, it's gone. It's gone. So you can just mess around and absolutely bonk the shit out of your enemies. Beautiful. Now, sometimes a lot of players will get into that zone and they'll say, well, this thing does more damage on paper. I haven't done the math, but it looks like maybe I should use a slashing weapon. Maybe a pure slashing weapon for Mr. Godskin Apostle here. And they don't go and double check. They don't do the math. They don't really sort it all out. And it is just no good. They end up underperforming. And they might even destroy the boss with this current setup. And it's possible for them not to know any better. And this is where I really would love in Elden Ring or just any Souls game a boss retry, like a trial, that you can redo the boss at. Maybe once you unlock the Grace, maybe once you clear the Legacy area of the sort of zone. So like Godric, or like in this case it would be Morgott. You'd be able to retry bosses just over and over again. I would love that. It would help people out a lot with testing. And, well, lesson number 2 would be understand your status buildup. And again, fextra is the only way that I was able to help figure this out. Kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I fell into a neuron activation trap as well with this character. See, I have some arcane in this character, mainly strength faith character, so this great club. Gotta love that. But I have the Kindred of Rot's Exaltation Talisman on for this boss, and I use a poison grease for this boss. And the whole idea is, hey, if I proc the poison and I'm in the mid close or close range, I get a 20% overall damage buff. Hello, that's a lot. But my damage is so high that I never proc the poison on him. And it doesn't matter. And my talismans and my buff could be situated in a way that would help my build absolutely destroy whatever obstacles in my way more effectively, provided that I'm not going to be able to proc poison or rot or what have you. Now, I am going to be able to fix this because I have 16 decks there, and I specifically want 16 decks for the pulley crossbow. And I'll be able to sling poison bolts and really, really rack up that poison so I can get that 20% buff. But I don't have that right now. And so this was a mistake of some thought. I put in some thought. I said, this looks good, but again, the primary point, I didn't do the right calculations, and it just didn't stack up. As well as, it's like, why do I have the serpent bow there? I'm going to be buffing my main weapon. Why do I have the serpent bow? If I swap out to the serpent bow, it'll get rid of the buff on my main weapon. That's silly. But if I have the pulley crossbow in the offhand, I can keep the buff on the main weapon, and everything is absolutely great. Also, Grail's Roar is something different. I'm probably going to have a different video for Grail's Roar, but here's finally the boss, the absolute destruction, and you can see it's just filthy. There's the stance damage, stagger, immense stagger damage, get the charge R2 as he's recovering, and then he dies as he's going into phase 2. Absolutely disgusting, but I could have had my setup better. Even so, if I did the calculations, please do the calculations. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys some other time. Bye!